It's the M&M Funky 5 Jive with Mike and Mel, the short and sweet podcast where they dive into toys, kids, and all the chaos in between. Packed with tips, stories, and unsolicited opinions because, let's face it, they've got plenty. And hey, their opinions are their own, so save your whining for someone who cares. Now let's get to it. Time to play with Mike and Mel.
Hey everybody, we're back for another episode of M&M Funky 5 Jive.
Funky 5.
We are going to talk about how 70s toy commercials captured the hearts of a generation. If you've read the blog post already, it is hilarious to look back at all of these commercials that we used to grow up with as a kid, and we were just mesmerized with our bowl of cereal in front of the cartoons. Mike's a little bit older than me, but the experience was still the same.
Yeah, well, you know, Saturday morning was the only time you get all your stuff. I think Monday through Friday we had like a little local cartoon show that was a half an hour or something like that. Or maybe it's at lunch. I don't know. But once a day for half an hour total. And then Saturday morning, you got Looney Tunes and all the stuff. And in the middle of all those, you had all the big players for the games. You know, you'd have all the stuff you're going to talk about. But, you know, stuff that you remember to this day.
Absolutely.
Marketing genius
right.
for these people. Because, like you said in 1975 on your thing, how many people, how many hours were available for children's programming? It's like
6 to 8.
6 to 8 a week.
A week. I know. I had to double.
Kids watch 6 to 8 hours of programming a day.
Right.
Geared toward them now. And,
right.
And it's 24 hours a day if you look for it, you know. I mean, so crazy.
It is. And the thing is that the advertisers had to become crafty with what they came up with because they only had that limited time slot to work with, unlike today, 24/7. So just to give you a perspective, in 1975, it was estimated that 20 million kids watched Saturday morning cartoons. And
there were only 10 million kids in the United States.
Right. So it was a booming time for them. They had to get it in there while they could.
You got to remember, like, the classics, like Battleship. Like, you suck my Battleship.
Right.
And the one I always remember is Sit and Spin, because they do that little song. Some kids go, bark, bark, when they sit and spin, da-da-da-da. Stuff like that.
Exactly.
There's tons of stuff like that. Think about it.
I know.
There's so many.
And I still remember some of them to this day. And if the right trigger hits me, I'll sing it all day long. You know.
You get the Rock'em Sock'em robots doing their thing, and SSP cars, and God, what else was there? There was so many
much.
Light bright, make something with light.
Yeah. And then there's some
Slinky. Think about that song. Yeah. That song will stick in your head forever.
That will. And actually, while I was putting this together, it was in my head for hours, so I couldn't get it out. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I don't know.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you remember them, but there wasn't a jingle.
I don't remember. I think they had one.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So we'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later. Something that's interesting is that the trend at the time was toward imagination play.
Like Barbie, you know, the glamorous Barbie.
Yeah.
You know, and like G.I. Joe, you're in the trenches and you're fighting. So it's all about the imagination of what's happening with the figurine in those cases.
Right.
But, you know, I guess, you know, they always were marketing toward, like when they showed up the smash-up derby cars, they would, because remember that's a jingle, smash, bang, smash them up, da-da-da-da-da. I don't remember. But they'd show real cars.
Right.
And then they'd show, you know, the toys hitting each other
right.
and the pieces flying, and I think it was the trying to get the kids to think they were that.
Right, they were in the action.
They were in the action.
One of the most disappointing things I do have to say is, you know, you would feel like that when you watch the commercial, but like then you get the doll or you get the thing and you go to play with it and you go, man, it doesn't look like the commercial. because they always had those cool backdrops. Like for you guys with the G.I. Joe, you didn't have all those rolling dirt hills.
Yeah, we did. We'd make them.
Okay.
We would make that. Because see, no, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because there's always a hype, right? They make it look better than it is. I mean, to this day, everything looks better than it really is when you get it. Except of course, our game, it's always exactly perfect.
Well, it's exactly.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think the fun of it though was back then. I mean, I remember playing with those toys, those G.I. Joes especially. We would make the environments. You know, we'd spend a lot of time like making stuff we could destroy, basically.
You're right.
That's all part of it.
Okay, well then let me backtrack a little bit. When I played with Barbie and all of her friends,
you didn't
unless you had the Barbie dream house, which I did not. I did have a friend that did. You just basically were sitting them on the kitchen table going, I want to go to kid's house. And that wasn't any fun. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't like the commercial. It didn't feel like the commercial.
No.
That's all I'm saying. I did have the camper. So that was a lot of fun.
Camper in the Corvette?
It did not have
My sister had the Corvette.
Mm. The camper was fun, though, actually.
We made my sister's playhouse, me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
We made big boxes and we painted them.
Yeah. And see,
it was like a huge modular. It was cool.
Actually, that's probably better than the real thing because the Barbie dream
I don't know
house
if she
was
thought so,
only
but that's like Mom saying we can make a Big Mac at home. It's not quite the same, but
yeah,
I thought it was cool.
But whatever the situation, you had to use your imagination, and it came down to imaginative play. The catchy jingles. Something that's interesting is they were very heavy on the gender-specific advertising.
Yeah,
So
boys' toys, girls' toys.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you had boys involved in a girls' commercial, they were in the background. They weren't really there. Or like if they were playing with Barbie, they held Ken.
I have this vague remembrance of something where the boy was in the background going, but I can't remember.
That sounds about right. It was in my world. So, along with that, then of course they use the regular marketing tactics that are still alive today in commercials, such as creating scarcity. Gotta get it now, gotta get it now.
Cabbage Patch Kids, man.
Right. Well, Cabbage Patch Kids is
the most famous one ever.
Yeah, that was
people fighting over it and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Oh, I know. That wasn't my generation. That was my sister's generation because she's younger than me. I didn't really care to have one. I was in high school. But I remember she wanted one so badly. And so my mom knew a lady at work who was hand-making Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, I know, right? I remember people doing that, yeah.
And she was appreciative of it, but
it's not the same thing. You gotta have the brand name.
Cabbage Patch.
I think Cabbage Patch Dolls is probably, I don't know, is it a combination? Is it actually a marketing scheme to lessen the supply, or is it just they actually ran out? I don't know.
No, I think they actually ran out.
I think they did too. I mean, but I don't think it was. I think it ended up being a humongous marketing boost when it ran out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was planned.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional either. But I'm not really
sure. Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle Me Elmo. Okay,
that one. We met the creator of that one.
Yeah.
And he was talking about that whole thing. And,
so a lot of the 70s toys reflected the era. We had space exploration was huge with Star Wars. And
the Apollos. That was the big thing. I think like the Star Wars whole thing, I was a teenager, I guess, when all that came out. But for you had the figurines, you had the...
Oh my gosh, I had
everything, right?
Star Wars, right? And
her dad threw it all away.
And he threw it away. Oh my gosh, I can't believe
like throwing away Superman #1.
I know.
Oh my God.
But I had those. I was probably the only 8-year-old on my block who had the soundtrack to Star Wars and actually listened to it.
Believe it or not, you've got that soundtrack someplace right back here.
Somewhere.
From the 70s.
Right. Also, there were a lot of pop culture tie-ins, like with Scooby-Doo and Batman and Charlie's Angels.
Chips.
and chips.
And Steve Austin, the $6 million man.
Oh my gosh, I had $6 million man. I had Bionic Woman. That was so fun.
That was awesome.
I even have to.
Did you say Charlie's Angels?
I had a Charlie's Angels lunchbox. I may have had the Farrah.
Well, and then all the cartoons had their stuff, Scooby Doo and all the Looney Tune characters and all that stuff.
Yeah, everything. I remember specifically the feelings that I would feel of excitement and watching these commercials, and there was no discretion going on in my head. No, well, maybe it's not as great as they say. I was just like, I want it.
No, yeah,
that was it.
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what they
created. The hype.
On.
They wanted you. Yeah.
Right.
And that was the other thing, the peer pressure, because well, Joey down the street's got it.
Yeah. No, I use that one all the time. It did not fly at my house. Because then they would say, well, if so and so down the street's got it, then you can go down there and play with it.
Right.
They weren't totally mean about all that stuff, but you can't just willy-nilly go out and buy everything you see on TV, right?
Well, theoretically.
When they made these 70s toy commercials, I mean, if you look at them now, of course, we've got AI and all sorts of special effects that are added to commercials. And back then, they had what's called budget-friendly effects. You remember, like with, the little fake explosions, they'd probably be hand-drawn in the commercials.
Yeah, like cartoons.
And making somebody fly. You'd see the little fish line as you're making them fly.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
Right.
You look at it. But it's okay.
Everything was rudimentary.
Yeah, but we didn't care.
But that kind of made it cool, because that's kind of what you and I play with now.
Yeah.
Because you can do all this flashy stuff now, even in your home studio. But some of that throwback kind of bad effects are actually kind of cool. Right. And actually, I think, now that I think about it, I didn't think about this before we talked, but, maybe that lent a bit of authenticity to it, because, if you had G.I. Joe, flying all over the place or whatever, it would, obviously that's not going to happen in real life, but if you had it from a string, any kid can do that. So, maybe that made the playtime real.
Right. That's a very good point.
Because that felt real.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could also put a firecracker in the
Kung Fu grip.
In the Kung Fu grip and blow his hand off. So, they didn't show that in the commercial.
Right. In 1974, the FCC introduced rules limiting the amount of advertising that children's programming.
Why? What difference does it make? I really don't understand why they did that.
Well, I guess because they're just so impressionable.
I guess, yeah, well, probably.
I mean, think about now.
Yeah, okay, here's, this is a whole nother show, but it's the same thing with AI. Everybody's scared of AI. Back then they were scared of warping the kids' minds with these commercials but you can go through everything throughout the ages. There's always somebody who's against what's happening, so they have to regulate it, right?
For sure.
All right, so they go with 74. They limit the amount of advertising towards kids. What good did it do? None. You still see the same commercials.
You still see the same commercials.
I don't get what the point was. It's just to appease the
watchdog groups.
All the watchdog.
Yeah. But I mean, the real policing of the TV starts at home. I mean, you can't really.
Right.
It's up to the parent. You can't. Control every fail-safe. It just gets to be too much.
Yeah.
Government's got enough to do.
It's not that.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
So, anyway, that's basically it. It's all I got. I have thoroughly enjoyed going over this topic, and I still love watching these old commercials. And I'm gonna.
It's a commercial with
brought to you by
chickachacatoy.com. Go there and check us out. And buy a Chickachaka.
That's right. And so as always, down in the comments, let us know what you think. And let us know about some of the great 70s commercials you remember, because by all means, this is not an exhaustive list. I've only got 12 or 13. And we'd love to hear some stories about how you played with these toys and some of the mad adventures that came about and trouble you got into, too. That's always fun.
That's another show, too.
That's another show,
all right. So.
Okay. So, as always, take care. And, by the way, I'm wearing this hat in salute to my Washington football team that did not do so great for the NFC playoffs.
But she's got the retro hat.
I got the retro hat. Cooler. I will switch over to a Commanders hat when they actually get to the Super Bowl. But they were dang close, and I'm so proud of them.
Just switch over next year.
I don't know. I'm kind of a stickler for old school.
And we live in Colts
country. The 70s,
so.
you know. Yeah, we
nothing happening there.
There's nothing happening in Colts country, so. Anyway.
Okay, so stay tuned. Watch for us. Subscribe, like, do all the stuff everybody always tells you to do. And go to Amazon.com or your local retailer and pick up a game of Chicka Chaka. You'll have a good time with yourself, your family, your friends, birthday parties, whatever you want to do.
Till next time, take care.
Chicka Chaka, yo, yo, yo.
Chicka Chaka, go, go, go. Woo! Catch you next time. Bye.
And you can hoot and holler, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Crash, bang, crack 'em up, put 'em.
Wheels are a-rolling, listen to them turn. The big wheel sound of power with speed enough to burn. Winning.
And here is G.I. Joe with Kung Fu Grip. G.I. Joe has hands that grip.
Surprise. Some days it's bad news.
My poor long-lost aunt.
Some days, good news.
She left me $500.